In this video, we're going to show you how to assemble a tower e-bike. Here are the tools you'll need. And these are some tools that are not necessary, but will be helpful if you have it at hand. It's always good to keep the box in good condition. So we'll start out by cutting the staples with cutting pliers. If for any reason you want to return the bike, you'll need the box. Open the box and get the styrofoam out. In one part, there will be two small boxes containing charger, lights, manual, etc. Take the bike seat out also. Pull out the bike like this. In our case, we have a bike stand, so we'll use that to pull the bike out of the box. In some newer models, you will have the fork plate attached for protection. You'll take it off by getting the nut on the right completely off, like so. Slide the cylinder out and it should come off as you loosen the nut on the left. We'll be saving all of the pieces we don't need inside the box. As mentioned before, in case you need to return the bike, you need all of that. In order to get to the fork, you need to get the front wheel unattached, so you can cut the zip ties and set the wheel aside for later. In some newer versions of the bike, the headset will come attached like this. If that's the case for you, you can skip to the section that says front wheel. Then what we like to do, since the bike is on a stand, is to reuse one of the long zip ties that come around the battery. We cut it really close to the ratchet, so it can be easily undone and we can reuse it again. Then we fit the zip tie under the fork and around the bike frame to hold the fork. Because once we undo the top cap bolt right here, the fork of the bike will come loose. So the zip tie will keep it from falling. We will keep the bolt and top cap aside and toss the cardboard tube inside the box. Place the stem on the fork. Add the top cap and bolt like this. Not too tight. This will be enough so that it holds the fork in place. So now you can cut the zip tie that was supporting the fork. You can unwrap the rest of the bike, getting all plastic, foam and cardboard, and throw it into the box. We're ready to install the front wheel. Start by loosening the nuts almost all the way, on both sides. Keep the washers next to the nuts. Place the wheel and get the nuts snug enough so that it will hold in place. For this next part, you'll need to have the bike on the ground, so you can apply pressure on the handlebar right here. As you tighten the nuts all the way on both sides, you need to be applying pressure on the handlebar. Let's work on the handlebar alignment. If your bike came with a headset attached, you will need to install the handlebar. First, you flip it around like this, then loosen all 4 bolts. Place the handlebar and snug the bolts back on. Then we're ready to adjust the angle of the handlebar. For that, we need to make sure all 4 bolts are somewhat loose. Then angle the handlebar depending on your height and reach. Snug the 4 bolts back, but don't tighten them all the way. We recommend a torque wrench if you have one, and set it to 9 Newton meters. If you tighten these too hard, you can strip the threads in the stem, but you don't want it too loose so that it will move around. Next, we'll align the front wheel with the handlebar. Tighten the top cap bolt with a 5mm wrench to move any excess play in the headset. Then align the handlers and tighten the pinch bolts at the back of the stem with a 5mm wrench, which we also recommend using a torque wrench set to 9 Newton meters. Tighten the stem angle adjuster bolt with a 6mm wrench as tight as possible. Next, we'll install the pedals, which will be marked right and left with a sticker and also imprinted on the pedals. On both sides, you rotate the pedals towards the front of the bike. Then, with a 6mm hex wrench, you tighten from the back side. You can also use a pedal wrench for this instead. Let's install the front light. We'll get this bolt all the way out. Get the lights and put the bolt through it like this. Put the nut on and tighten it. Then we have to connect by aligning these 2 pins right here. On the outside there are these arrows that will help you visually also. The saddle and backlight is pretty intuitive. You just need to make sure you tighten the seat clamp bolt with a 6mm wrench. Then, get the light out of the box, tighten it to the saddle, and insert the seat post into the frame. Tighten the clamp if needed and lock it down, making sure it is secure. The keys come inside a plastic bag and will go on the battery. And that's it, you're done. But here are a couple of things that a professional mechanic would tune, adjust, and check before riding for safety purposes, so we strongly encourage you to do this. We'll check the cassette and derailleur alignment and calibrate them if needed. Set the bike to low gear, pedal it, and make sure so that the derailleur is not pushing the chain over this way. If it does go over, you need to adjust by tightening this bolt right here. For the front brake, we'll tighten these two bolts. Then we will loosen these other two so that the Tektro front brake caliper wiggles. After that, we will pump the front brake a few times like this. Then we'll gently snug the bottom bolt. Then gently snug the top. Snug some more on the bottom, then a little more on the top until you get it tight. After we're done, the brake rotor should be centered between the pads like this. The tire pressure will depend on your weight and terrain you plan to ride on, but it should be between 40 and 65 psi. Check the grips are tight using a 5mm hex wrench on the right and 3mm hex wrench on the left. Did you know that Tower spends more on boxing solutions than some companies spend producing their non-electric beach cruiser bikes? These are triple wall boxes like factories use to ship heavy machinery. The staples, glue, and custom molded styrofoam inserts give these extra wide 14-inch boxes a brick wall-like structure that holds up to delivery company abuse. And then there's also the reusable fork plate that comes with the newer models. So enjoy your Tower electric bike. Happy riding!